What's up guys, it's your host Spartanic Arts DxD back with another high school DxD related video. And today we have What If Issei Was Abandoned Part 4. Let's try to hit 1,000 likes again, and if you guys want to know exactly when I upload / my upload schedule, click the little blue button right next to the subscribe button. But before we announce my balance breakers once again, I'm going to go ahead and say something. I have a little announcements. What do you guys think about the concept of what if Issei had Ultra Instinct, the movie? It'll be completely written by me and it'll be a 100% one shot. And I'll probably start writing it about tonight. So it'll probably take 2 weeks to come out. So yeah, just look forward to that. And also the Dragon Ball series will be coming out soon. So also look forward to that. If you guys want to just say something about it or what's your opinion on those things, just go ahead and leave it in the comment section down below. Without further ado, let's go ahead and announce my balance breakers. Rob the King, Lachlan Yates, Atomic Warlord 58, Crumble Like Darkness Sphere, Aunt Lewis, The Beast YT3, Shade _Fox, Colex, Jordan Patchout, Mazaku, Dr. MLG_ is the bomb, Asimodus, Grimfire Shot Gamer, Kip Saying 21, Keep Saying 21, That Round Guy, Dragon Lord 003, and Zero Fusion. Thank you so much for becoming a balance breaker. And also my limit breakers, I see you too, do not worry. And if you guys want to see Dragon Ball what ifs or Dragon Ball content in general, go ahead and subscribe to Ampalpowski down in the description below, as well as Fallen DxD. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into part 4. So if you guys didn't know where we are, we're right in the middle of chapter 3, Scene Change, Issei's room. Issei opened the door to his bedroom. The ridiculously big room was laid before his eyes, just like when he left. Seeing it made him sigh in relief. It seems that no one had noticed its absence. That was good for him. Walking closer to his bed, he noticed how he was the only a pair of mangled pants. He wanted to take a shower, so he started to take off his pants, but he felt something inside his pocket. Putting his left hand inside, he took out what was in his pocket. Shock filled his face. Shit! Looking at the object in his hand, Issei swore once again. How could have I forgotten about this? In his hand now laid a bright red chess piece with black spots. To be more precise, one of his pawn pieces. The evil pieces! They were inside my pockets! As he grabbed the piece, he felt how it started to absorb his energy. Noticing this, he hurriedly ran towards his desk at the far left of where his bed was. He quickly laid the piece there as fast as lightning. He took the remaining pieces off of his pockets and lined them up. In front of them were 8 red pieces with black spots. Cracks adorned their surface, and a little bit of dry blood could be seen on them. How can I hide them? Issei thought. While not taking his eyes off the pieces, he asked to himself. Soon he thought about something. He had an idea of how to solve up the problem. If I'm not wrong, there should be an empty wooden box inside my dresser, just the perfect size for these pieces, Issei thought. Issei went to his dresser and searched for the box. He had to turn the dresser inside out since the box seemed to be pretty well hidden. Aha! Finally, the wooden box was on his hands. With the box in hands, he went back towards his desk. He grabbed the pieces and put them inside the box. Damn! Even inside the box, that horrible aura still manifests itself. Maybe if I learned magic, I could seal it off, Issei figured out. But where can I learn magic or other things? There's no one in the mansion and there are no books. Finding his answer inside his comet, he facepalmed once again. The gosh damn library, the boy roared to himself. He lifted his head upwards and closed his eyes as a sign of realizing how dumb he was. Ha! Sighing in defeat, he walked out the door in search of mysterious library. Well, where's the library? Realizing he didn't know where it was, he walked downwards, reaching the front entrance. Well, let's start searching. Right at the entrance of his house, he started his search for the mysterious library. 40 minutes later. Who in the world puts a library on the 5th floor of a mansion? Once again insulting the architect of the house out loud, he closed the door behind him. In front of him there was an extremely big library, several meters in height. One could see the 2nd floor in the far left. Almost at the corner of the weirdly big room, stairs in the shape of spiral could be seen. They were rather small. Only a person at the time could go up or down. Wow! Vocalizing his awe, Issei walked and turned his whole body around. Never knew something this awesome was inside my house. How is it even possible for this to be this big? Issei was surprised. He never knew he had a library. He only heard about it from the girls a long time ago. Well, time to search for some books, but what kind? What is the most I lack right now? While walking around his library, he started to think. Common knowledge, Issei thought to himself. Issei was right. He needed as much common knowledge as possible of the supernatural world as he could. Deciding what books to read, he went back to the start. He saw a section of myths back to the beginning. Aha! While pointing at the section of myths like a detective, he said, "Found you!" and walked closer. He noticed many different legends from various different mythologies, in Sumerians to Celts, to Japanese, to Norse, among others. There were even an especially big part about Christianity. The entire section occupied a whole bunch of bookcases. Just all of the knowledge occupied one of the walls of the library, and some of the books were even in the second floor. Let's start in chronological order. I have an entire weekend to learn as much as possible before school. Walking right at the beginning, he found a subsection that read Sumerians. Picking the first book, he read the title, Ilish? He said as he read the title of the book, he didn't know what it was this is about, so he started to read. When on the high heaven had not been named, film the ground below had not been called by name, not by primordial Aspu, the begetter, Tiamat, she who bore them all, their waters comingling as the single body. No reed hut had been matted, no marshland appeared, when no gods whatever had been brought into being uncalled by name, their destinies undetermined. Then it was that the gods were formed within them. Reading inside his head, he noticed this was a poem of creation in the world of the birth of the gods. Tiamat? Like the Tiamat that hates Drake? Shit, how is she even alive then? Or maybe a fragment of her former self survived and healed her back up. Who knows? Maybe another mystery of the world, Issei said, dismissing the idea of Tiamat that will only bring a headache. A couple of minutes later, scene break. So, that's how the world was formed and created according to them. He closed the book and put it back into place. He looked at the clock firmly, hammered against the wall, around 2 p.m. He arrived here late in the morning. After all the test reading only a book, not much time had passed. It seems that I need to step up my game. I hope by that Friday I reached the Christians. Although, reading all those books in a huge wall is a big challenge. I believe I can do it, more or less. While believing in himself, Issei picked up another book. The title read, The Epic of Gilgamesh. Surprised by the title, he quickly sat down in his former place and started to read. I will proclaim to the world the deeds of Gilgamesh. This was the man to whom all things were known. This was the king who knew the countries of the world. He was wise. He saw mysteries and knew the secret things. He brought us a tale of the days before the flood. He went on a long journey, a weary, worn out with labor. Returning, he rested. He engraved on a stone the whole story. Issei kept reading the epic poem of Gilgamesh. He was amazed by what he read. So, he was first hero and the prototype of all of them. Like the book says, the king of all heroes? That's super cool. I wonder how strong he actually was. Issei seemed surprised by newly acquired knowledge. Many hours went by. Soon, night arrived. Issei was still in the same spot, reading another book. He finally went to another folklore, as the sign from the Sumerians, reaching the Egyptians and reading many myths, teachings, laments, dialogues, prophecies, etc. Some of the books were titled Litany of Ra, Amudet, The Eloquent Peasant, etc. Wait, so Apophysis was an Egyptian? And not only that, but the greatest enemy of Ra? Issei was once again surprised by the new discovery. I actually liked being of a legend rivaling Ra, the sun god of Egyptian of mythology. Not believing what he read the book once again, but the words were still there. I'm awesome! It seems his shameless grew by quite a bit. Complimenting himself like that, he took the page off Azazel's book. Too bad I could no longer access the Dragon Drive, but I'm pretty sure I've become stronger. In the future I'll be even more. Issei was satisfied with his deed and didn't let this setback affect him. He soon continued his read. After a while he stopped reading them only myths. Other texts were also read by him, but because of the slow quantity of the text he needed to stay awake all night for him to read them all. But since he liked the text, he was satisfied with staying awake the whole night. The next day arrived, and Issei was still inside the library. Getting up, he closed the book he was reading, one of the most famous books in history, the Odyssey, by Homer. A fantastical tale about the Odysseus and the 10-year journey to reach the Aitita. And after many years and obstacles, he managed to get back home. He just finished reading it, feeling a lot more respect to the Greek culture. I'm Greek, woo. He also was very surprised with himself. After all, he had met the three greatest gods of the same pantheon. Stretching himself because of the sleepless nights, he had hurt his spine. Oh, That hit the spot, Issei said as he cracked his back in a refreshing manner. Time to eat something. After that, I should train more with my darkness. I still don't know enough about it, Issei said as he went towards the exit of the library. Walking down the stairs, he soon reached the first floor. Walking tidily to the kitchen, he saw some people he never expected to see. Mentally, he said, "Shit, just my luck. Sitting on the table, there were two women he'd rather not meet." Scene change inside the kitchen of the Hyodo mansion. Rias and Akano were sitting in the kitchen eating their breakfast. Something odd after all. For the past month they were always gone, even for breakfast. This intrigued him, but soon after he dismissed the thought. It's not like they will speak to him now of all times, right? This was merely a coincidence, nothing more, nothing less, Issei convinced himself. Reaching the refrigerator door, he walked past them, secretly releasing a breath he was holding. It seemed the theory was right. He grabbed random pieces of fruit and an orange juice box. Since he was training later, he wanted to get a light breakfast not to throw up. He quickly seated on the same table as the two, who were just talking amongst themselves. Grabbing a plate, he chopped the fruit up from a sizable size. He filled it with a glass of orange juice, and just he was about to eat, his expectations were thrown out the window. "Oh, Issei, didn't see you there," Ria said as he looked at our dark brown-haired boy. Quickly noticing the change of his hair, he asked, "What happened to your hair? It's longer and darker?" she quickly asked, making Issei flinch. As fast as he could, he thought of an excuse. "Oh, good morning, Rias. About that. I let my hair grow a little longer. About the color, since I had nothing better to do, I dyed it a tone darker," Issei said with a goofy grin, scratching the back of his head to avoid suspicion. "Please believe it," he chanted inside his head while changing the calm demeanor. Rias and Akano were surprised by the new discovery of Issei, but since they didn't detect a lie, they let it slide. After all, the Issei they knew wasn't good at lying. "Oh, so that's why. You look good," Akano complimented while giving a smile. But he was no longer the same. He just said, "Thanks," with a rather emotionless voice. This voice shocked her slightly, but she let it slide. Issei would never reply like that, right? "Where have you been, Issei? We've been looking for you," Rias commented with a slight worry on her tone. This took Issei off guard. "Looking for me? Ha!" He scoffed inside his head. "You can piss on my back, but don't tell me it's raining. Such an obvious lie. Do they think I'm dumb? Although the look in your eyes is a good touch, quite convincing," Issei thought himself. What do you mean, Rias? I have been training and in school. Where else could I have been?" Surprised by how good he put that one out, Issei was slightly joking tone. Both Rias and Akano were suspicious, but they knew he was right. Where could he go? Maybe they just didn't match at the moments they were looking for him. "Yeah, you're right. Sorry for doubting you," Rias replied while apologizing. It was as if the former Issei he would have bought it, but not anymore. Issei started to eat his breakfast with a rather fast pace, and when he wanted to get the hell out of here. But once again, Rias spoke, making him curse inside his head. "Fucking shit, can't a man eat in peace? I mean, you won't bother a dog while he's eating, so why are you bothering me?" "Rating game? I want to tell you something. It's about a rating game." This blow almost made Issei choke on his fruit. Rating game? Against who? There's still a while before you enter the world of the pros. Issei was finding an excuse for himself. The last thing he needed was a fucking game right now. "Oh, about that. My brother told me they were proposing a world-class rating game so anyone across the world can participate in it." Rias casually dropped the nuke. For the first time in a while, Issei was surprised. He wide-eyed, his jaw hitting the floor. This scene made the both women giggle. A world-class rating game? His mind was spinning. Quickly, many ideas came into his head, but first he needed information. Let's take this chance to squeeze her dry of information with a malicious smile, Issei thought. Then he asked, "What do you mean?" The more open the question, the better it was for him. "Oh, Issei," thinking he didn't understand, Rias released a tired sigh. "It means that anyone can participate. It doesn't matter what they are, even gods are allowed to participate. Of course, being that of the level of limited in numbers, the information my brother gave me isn't much after all. It is still a project in early stages. They haven't put it into action yet, so not even a name was proposed." Rias told all the information Issei needed. Although it was scarce, it was sufficient. "It seems that I need to advance my plans. Something of this magnitude just popped out of nowhere." "Ha! This is perfect timing." Issei had a plan. Since he was no longer part of her barrage, he wanted to explore the world and see it for his own eyes. That was the reason for him to train and learn that much. After he became a full dragon, his desires also grew. His search for adventure was the biggest one, followed by becoming stronger and fighting worthy. Now that an idea of such a game was proposed, he could accomplish that little dream he had, being the leader of a strong team. However, for that needed candidates, something that is currently lacked by a lot. He wanted someone strong, fitting to be by his side. Now that he had left that horrible attitude from the past, his pride shut up by a huge margin. Therefore, he wanted people he could trust by strong by themselves. Well, I was going to leave sooner or later. Better sooner. Issei was lost in his thoughts, so he couldn't listen to the voice of Rias. "Issei, are you listening to me?" she screamed next to his ear. This made Issei wince in pain. "Sorry, I was surprised by the news," he quickly apologized. Truthfully, no. Adorably pouting her face as Issei once again. "You will be participating as a member of my team. After all, we have fought together since the start, so it's better that way," Rias ordered her pawn. Issei was taken by surprise, so he said something on reflex. "But I would like to fight on my own," something he quickly regretted. The looks of both women's faces were priceless, as if the whole world was flipped upside down. He almost laughed out loud. "Why would you want that?" Issei, "We've been working through thick and thin. Why would you want that? Will you abandon my Parage and fight against us?" Damn that acting. Not even an Oscar winner would be worthy of carrying her shoes. Issei was surprised by the hypocrisy behind those words. Even Akano spoke up. "Yes, Issei-kun, why would you fight against us? We are family. Please don't think like that. We need to fight together." Damn, another excellent actress. Shit, no wonder they fooled me so perfectly before. It seems way too real. Even now I can't detect any hidden intentions. Issei's thoughts were comparing them to famous actors he knew about. Maybe all devils were good actors. "Yeah, you're right. I don't know what got into my head. Sorry, of course. I will fight together with you," he answered with a trust me look on his face, making both of them smile beautifully. Trying to change the conversation, he spoke listlessly. "How has college been?" He needed to make time. He almost finished his fruit, just a couple of more pieces. The smile in both Akano and Rias was gone. Instead, it was replaced by a sour look. "Well, good enough. Our senpai hasn't been with us recently, so we are worried about our duties as the future president and vice president of the faculty," Rias said in a low voice, surprising Issei a bit. He, as quickly as he could, finished his food. Standing up, he placed his plate on the sink and watched them extremely fast. "Oh, it seems there are problems in paradise," laughing inside of his head. Issei walked past them, but not before telling them. "Is that so? Don't worry. I believe anything will be fixed soon enough," with a fake smile. "Now, if you excuse me, I need to train. If you are going to fight against God class, then I need to become stronger," Issei said to both of them, not really lying. "Goodbye," Issei said his goodbyes, but unknown to them, these would be the last words they will hear from Issei in a long time. Scene change, training field number 2. Issei waited for both of them to leave the house. As soon as they did, he went to the training field. Right now, he needed to think about his plan. Time, since it was against him. He didn't know when the information of world-class rating game would be made public, but he didn't want to take his chances. Before it started, he needed to absolutely control of his darkness and figure out more about it. Now standing in the power of the field, he went again to all on out. He wanted to try if he could change form his Hellblaze, so he experimented out for a long while. He discovered that imagination was really important to change the form of darkness, so he tried really hard. After a while, he was capable of creating a Hellblaze in the actual form of a flame. He was extremely satisfied since the capabilities of changing the form of his darkness. After that, he dismissed his flames and went right towards the magic field. Yeah, I was capable of changing that form. But now how much damage can they do? That's the real question. Issei had a frail grin on his face. He went to the console of offense's range, setting it at the maximum. He wanted to see how powerful his Hellblaze was against real targets. Many holograms of different species appeared, many of which were devils, angels, and fallen. Others were yokai or Norse warriors, but each and every single one of them were using their own abilities oriented towards defense. Rotating, defensive magic circles with many different weird symbols appeared in front of the races of the 3 biblical factions. Smaller compressed circles with Norse runes appeared on the magic warriors of Valhalla, while close combat warriors of the Norse just prepared their bodies by covering themselves augmented shields or weapons. Toki covered the yokai while they used the Omero spells. He could identify those because of the many animes and mangas he had seen and read, so the papers gave their speciality rather easily. All of the warriors were at least high class in power, with a few outstanding ones among them. Some of the warriors were even ultimate class. Issei once again surprised himself. He really went to beat the hell out of the one that made it in the training field. So basically what's going on is that Issei is literally just killing ultimate class and high class people of any races and just destroying them. He has the capabilities of destroying heavenly class if he wanted to with like even a tap. It's absolutely crazy. Back to the story. Of course, something as broken as this appears when the pranksters are maxed. Why did I expect something? Issei was tired of all the surprises the training field was giving him. Well, let's see how much damage I can do. Preparing his flames by literally grabbing them, he threw them at the space in front of them. The black and purple flames through the skies as in reacted reached a couple of angels and devils. He was surprised. The flames completely ignored their magic defense and hit them head on. The screams were heard from the holograms. Everything was extremely realistic, so we could see the damage he just did. Some of the other races at their sides tried to help them extinguish the flames, but it wasn't possible. Shocked at the result of the flames, he watched how the flames were not capable of being extinguished. So think of Itachi's, his flames, how they never were able to extinguish no matter what. Now that, of course, unless you had the running, you know what, never mind. Now that's something that even I would want to be hit with. With a surprised and scared face, Issei quickly said. He then ordered the flames to extinguish themselves. They quickly started to decrease in size and vanish from his sight. The image in front of him was quite bad. Angels and devils were converted into fourth-degree burns as they slowly disappeared in particles of white light. After preparing himself for another round, he turned his eyes to his next target. He threw the flames. This was towards a couple of ultimate class people. Their shields resisted, and only a couple of them were actually hurt. Nothing serious. First degree, maybe second degree burns tops. It seems that my flames completely disregarded creatures that have less magic reserves than I. Deducing what just happened, Issei thought of something. Against those that are similarly or above in magic reserves than me, it would be a battle of attrition between their defense and my flames. I need to create something that completely nullifies their defenses. Issei thought of a plan once again. That his darkness, regeneration, and healing, as well as his natural resistance, he could withstand my hits. I need something that is similar to my sphere of darkness. Basically annihilation. Something that literally annihilates and evaporates at the same time. Thinking to himself, Issei spoke with a loud voice. What is fast, aerodynamic, small, and can actually fly? Issei needed to think about something. Sphere? No. Too obvious and not as fast. Spear? No. Too much of a cliche. An animal? Yes! A dragon? No. Too complex. It would take time to make it. Continuing with his ideas, he reached the conclusion that he was not reaching anywhere. He sat down on the floor and looked at the sky thinking, hoping anything will come to his head. A bird? Opening his eye, he stood up. Of course! A fucking bird! Reaching his former position, he coated himself in darkness. He decided to make the sphere. He made it big, around the size of a basketball. Soon the sphere started to deform. It was a changing form, but no bird has been seen. He decided to make a sphere. He made it big, around the size of a basketball. Fuck, even a bird is too complicated? Come on, I only want to fit properly in aerodynamic. Issei was trying really hard, so it could be seen all over his body, flowing down like a waterfall. Maybe if I can make it even more simple, I only want wings, a tiny head and a tail. That's it. Issei was exhausting himself, but soon enough the ball started to deform and two really simple looking wings sprouted on his sides. Issei was extremely happy. He gathered his remaining energy to try to finish it off. Another sphere appeared on top of the ball of darkness, connecting itself to a bigger sphere. After that, a small peak in the shape of a triangle adored his little head. With a boost of energy, he felt through his body because of his success. A tail in the shape of a reverse triangle appeared. He completely completed the bird. Done! Issei screamed. Surprised by how much effort it took, he fell to his knees and breathed heavily, sweating still pouring down his face. The bird didn't move, it just floated there, minding its own business. One could see an orange/red substance inside of it. What he did was to compress his flames to the limit in the shape and size of a soccer ball. Then he coated the ball in the normal of his darkness and changed his darkness to fit the shape of the bird. He could see the horrible power and heat this bird released, even if 2 meters away from it. Standing up, he came closer to the bird. He placed his hand on top of its head and screamed, "Purgatory Flame Bird!" The bird flew extremely fast towards its designated target, that being a small group of ultimate class people. They were surprised by the bird, flying right at them. Soon it reached speed barely perceivable with their eyes, but by some miracle, since the bird was flying in a straight line, they were able to dodge it. Issei had a mocking smile on his face. Did you really thought that I spent the last hour making a bird that only flies in a straight line? Think again! The bird moved its tiny right at them with an extreme flexibility and speed. The bird turned left. It flew even faster than before, easily breaking the sound barrier. Caught off guard, they were hit by the bird. Boom! A small explosion was heard. Even though it was small, it was extremely loud. A sphere that the heat surpassed everything. He was at the distance he ever felt. Appeared, and the ultimate class beings became less than ash. Whoa. Not having any words, not even profanities to say, Issei just stood there. His attack eliminated a group of 5 ultimate class and pretty decent ones at it. They were above average by quite a lot. Damn, that attack power. Those poor bastards became less than ash. What would happen if I used the boosted gear and boost the bird? Inhaling a breath of cold air to calm himself, Issei regained his calm. Thanks to his successful creation, Issei stayed more time there, hoping to improve even more than he already had. After a couple of hours, Issei was capable of creating multiple spheres of darkness, the same size as the first one he ever shot. He could even shoot many at the same time and control their trajectory. He even managed to create a big sphere the size of a human being and controlled it to change the direction. Of course, he could only do simple turning. He couldn't make them twist, move like his hand, or just foot like Trihexa did, but he will reach that level soon enough. Scene change, Library Hyodo Mansion. Issei finished his magical training as well as the physical one. He needed to get back into shape thanks to his dragon physique along with his aura. It wouldn't be too complicated. Issei was now reading about the Persians, but he was only interested in their Zoroastrianism. So he only read their principal text, Avesta. Reading through it, he quickly found the name of an evil dragon, one that he knew much too well, Azai Daka. He described as a monster with 3 months, 6 eyes, and 3 heads, cunning, strong, and demonic. Rather fitting if you asked him. It narrated he was defeated by a guy named Furidon, and since he couldn't be killed because of all the chaos it would cause, he was chained inside Mitdevad. How Rizavim and the rest found him was a mystery. According to what he knew, Mitdevad was lost in the river of time since death of their religion. Just how are these guys capable of finding someone like this? Issei didn't know. The only extinct civilization which some remains have found was the lost continent of Mu. Even of them, only bits and pieces remained. If my memory isn't wrong, didn't Volley mention he looked for them once? He really didn't care, so he continued his reading. Since the Zoroastrianism was extinct, he could only learn a couple of things, not really interested in anything more than the basics. He passed the Romans since they were the same as the Greeks, at least in gods, but with different names. He only cared about the Roman civilization, but that material was far too big and would delay his plans, so he skipped the majority of it. He only read about the first emperors of Rome, and that was really the dense material. Celtic mythology. He soon reached a mythology that interested him. Actually, not much of them is known since they were rather isolated. After the 3 biblical factions stole their believers, they became isolated from the rest of the world. Well, that's what Azazel said. He researched more about the culture since Gasper and Baylor inside him, so he was rather curious. According to the books he read, not much was known about the Celtics since many of their records were destroyed by the Christians who came to their territories. Only a few legends still remembered, like Fomorians in the Tuatha De Dan, who were described as the Book of the Battle of Magi treachery. Those records were saved to those of the Christians, since they adapted in legends to fit their beliefs, changing every being into humans, whether kings or heroes, so as to make the inhabitants of those less than angry at them. So the Fomorians were a race that came at the sea and represent evil in general, while the Tuba of Dedaithan were deities that fought against them. Issei summarized a lot of the Celtic culture in that sentence. Their leader is Daidga, their chief and the god of life. Issei explained to himself so that he could retain the information better. The Morrigan was a tribute of goddess that was divided into 3 different goddesses that governed different things, but they were still considered single existence. He continued his summary. Lu, god of light, is the strongest with the magic sphere. He was the one who slew Baylor, king of the Fomorians. He had the son titled Ju Chilian, Known as the most famous and most unlucky hero in Celtic history, his true name was Sintieta and was called the Shield of the Ulster and the Child of Light. He took all of this information to memory. Why did nobody ever tell me this, or at least told me to investigate about it? Issei was angry, so much information that could have helped. He sighed in defeat once again. He didn't know why he ever tried to learn something like this. Turning around, he looked at the wall. Damn, already that late? Issei looked at the clock on the wall, 11 p.m., rather late. Since tomorrow he had school, he couldn't pull an all-nighter. Too much pity. Turning around, and he looked at the wall. He stood up from his chair, closed the book, and put it back into place, and he left. He went down the stairs, reaching the floor of the room he was on. He opened the door to his own room, like nothing was there. He looked around until his eyes stopped. The wooden box on his desk. Maybe I should put it in another place. He had no idea. Nah. Over there doesn't bother anyone. He quickly gave up the idea and went towards his bed. Putting his sleepwear, he lay down on his bed. Looking at the ceiling, he was thinking about the many things, his plans, the world-class reading game, Drag. Releasing a tired sigh, he turned around and tried to go to sleep. Worrying will not solve anything, and Drake will come back. He was sure he just needed time. A manically laugh came from his mouth, but he hurriedly covered his mouth. He wouldn't want someone to wake up now, would he? Well, let's see what tomorrow will have for me, Issei said as he went to sleep. And that is the end of Chapter 3. Chapter 4. Second Change, Wisdom. The sun rose up from the east, and by the art of magic it hit the spot in between the curtains that wasn't covered by them. The light hit the face of Issei, and he wrinkled his nose as a response. He turned his whole body around, hoping for a bit more of sleep, but he soon realized that he had school to attend to. Forcing his heavy eyelids, he opened his eyes, slowly getting used to the light that illuminated the room. He got up and sat his beside, slowly stretching himself, hearing his stiff joints pop. Then he yawned and stood up to the open of the curtains so that more light could enter his room. Satisfied with his deed, he looked outside the window. A beautiful scenery once again appeared, but this time less remarkable than the ones before. A clear blue sky without the trace of a cloud was seen. The light of the sun was shown onto anyone, like a blessing to all mankind. A town! I believe it no longer has the right to call itself like that. He mocked the town as soon as he saw the small city through his window. He didn't know why, but after the battle against the Trihexa, a lot of the people came into town. They invested as much as they could and created many tall buildings, malls, departments, hotels, among others. Later on, the town became a city, and many new things were built inside. The amount of projects Ko now had was no joke. And due to this boom, Ko Academy was soon became the number of non-educational institution in the whole city. Issei believed that by next year, they will need to increase the size of their facilities by his guesses. Many will try to apply for it. Well, that's not my problem, Issei thought to himself. Since soon enough he would leave, he didn't need to worry over it. Once some time had passed, he would come back. After all, even with all the experience here, this town is still his home. He turned around and walked to the other side of his bed, watching the big electronic clock, and beside, 5:45, huh? Pretty early. School starts at 8 a.m., so I have a lot of time. Issei once again turned around and walked toward the door that had his bathroom on the other side. Coming back from his shower, Issei went to his dressing room inside his main room. Casual pants and normal-looking t-shirts were neatly folded inside the large drawer. He quickly noticed that aside from different colors, shirts, and jeans, he had nothing. Damn, I only have these? It's not like I'm ungrateful, but still, this is bad. As he emptied his drawer, he was astounded by the amount of clothing inside of it. There, 3 different colored t-shirts, a black and white dress shirt, and 2 pairs of jeans alongside the black and white sneakers. Issei continued his wardrobe. He didn't have much to wear. Really? Is that all? At least a jacket, please. He opened the rest of his drawers, but aside from the underwear and socks, nothing else was found. This was the sole place where he stashed his clothing, so everything he wore was here. He was already sighing this early in the morning. After school, I need to go to the mall. Issei was angry at his former self. How could he be so disinterested towards his own looks? After his predicament, Issei went to the bathroom and began looking at the mirror. He needed to comb his hair. Finding it, he looked at himself but was shocked by his looks. What he saw was a terribly long messy hair reached his upper back. His twin tails were at the back of his neck, not sure why. Okay, note to self, get a haircut. A pretty one good at it. Issei was once again surprised by his looks. He looked pretty bad, and since he trained almost every moment since he came back, he didn't have time to take a look at his appearance. Okay, it seems that there are a lot of things I need to do this afternoon. Training today needs to be postponed, as he said out loud. He noticed that many things he needed to do. Walking out of the bathroom, he quickly dressed himself in the school uniform that he didn't like. He looked back at the clock beside the 7:25. Good, perfect timing. School is 20 minutes walking, so I have some time to spare. He walked out of his room and went towards the stairs, but he quickly looked upwards, thinking about something. What if I bring a book with me? That way I can kill two birds with one stone, Issei thought to himself. Issei climbed up the stairs and soon reached the fifth floor of the mansion. He grabbed the doorknob of the library and quickly turned it. Walking in, he started to think. What should I read this time? He muttered, looking at the covers of the books. Running his fingers through the back cover of all the books, he soon found one interesting enough. So, Japanese mythology then, he noticed as soon as he read the title of the book. The three most evil yokai of Japan. This caught Issei's interest. As a Japanese, he heard of them, but didn't exactly know about them. He just knew they were extremely powerful yokai. Nothing more, nothing less. Continued reading this title, his interest peaked. He opened the book. These are the three monsters who, according to legend, pose the greatest threats to Japan's existence. Shuden Doji, the most powerful Oni, transferred into this because of his wickedness and mischief. Emperor Shoto, disgraced by the ones he was close with, he killed himself and cursed Japan and its emperor in becoming a vengeful Tengu. Tamo no Mai, the emperor's most beloved concubine, but killed by her, a nine-tailed fox, also known as Kyubi. Wait, a Kyubi? Issei was shocked. He knew about the Kyubis. After all, Yakuza was one of them. He quickly went to the Japanese subsection in the book and grabbed the book that spoke more in detail about the yokai. Flipping through the pages, he soon reached the part about the fox yokai. There are many species of fox spirits, better known as kitsus. They were depicted as intelligent beings that could shapeshift and charm anyone, as well as being cunning and strong. Some of them were isolated because of being attendants of the god Arani. Others were despised because of Tamo no Mei. Yet today, the ruler of the yokai is a kitsune, one that is blessed by the sun goddess, Amaterasu. Because of that, the species of those kitsunes changed and they became Kyubi no Kami, divine Kyubi, while others were referred to as normal kitsune. Issei was taken back. He never thought that the yokai that had held this many species, but before he closed the book, something caught his eye, so he read another part of the book. However, there is no exception to this rule, that being Tamiya no Mei, being an evil spirit to the extreme, her race also changed, turning into Kyubi no Yoko, also known as the demon fox. She was characterized because of her scarlet fur, the same color as blood. Because of this, all descendants of the Tamiya no Mei have bloody red fur and are easily distinguishable from the normal kitsunes. Today, there is no information about her descendants, supposedly hunted by the yokai many years ago, age until not one survived. Issei closed the book and put it back into its place. He was surprised and also a bit angry because of how they treated Kyubi no Yoko. He believed she didn't deserve to be treated like that. Not horribly, at least. Well, just because they are descendants of her doesn't mean they are like her. The children do not carry the sin of their parents. They are innocent. Why should they do something like that? Are they blind due to their hatred? To the point where they wouldn't spare the innocent children that had nothing to do with these problems. He turned around while thinking to himself and grabbed another book. Today he wanted to read about Japanese mythology, better known as Shintoism. After taking his book, he looked at the clock on the left wall, his eyes widening during the entire process. And like a soul that ran out of hell, Issei ran out the door through all of the stairs. After reaching the main door, he grabbed his bag, placed his book inside, and ran away. The hour when he was at the library was 10 to 8 o'clock. He didn't have much time left. Scene change near Ko Academy. A boy screamed with all the air he had in his lungs. No, please! That boy was Issei, who failed at arriving at school on time. The gate was mercilessly shot by a random sensei that didn't bat an eyelid at Issei. Seeing this, Issei cursed 18 generations of his ancestors with all the expletives he could think of, probably making his own ancestors feel uncomfortable and blush in shame. Shit, why is my luck so bad today? Issei felt depressed. Grabbing the iron bars of the gate, he fell down on his knees. Now what? Issei said in a loud voice. He knew that once the gates were closed, no power, human or divine, would help him enter the school. After some minutes passed, he stood up in defeat and started to walk back home. Really? World? I know you hate me, but give me a break, he roared at the heavens, asking a dead god of the Bible what he did. Well, since there is no one home, and I have nothing better to do, why not? He interrupted himself mid-speech. A light bulb appeared above his head. But of course, I go to the mall and finish everything I had planned for the afternoon. The problem is, are they open now? Issei found a good thing in his crazy day. Well, let's make time going back home and changing myself. I don't want them to notice I'm a student. It would be troublesome. Deciding to go home, he peacefully walked all the way back since he had nothing better to do. He took out his book titled Katsumi Kyuri, or Volume of the Age of the Gods, and started his reading. Thus, the light was at the top of the universe, and below it the particles formed, first clouds and then heaven, which has to be called the Takagara. The rest of the particles that had frozen formed a huge mass dense and dark to be called Earth. While walking, Issei continued his book. Lost in thought, he approached the entrance of his home. As big and bulky as before, he grabbed his key and opened the door. Putting his bag where he took it from, he went upstairs. Walking up the stairs in calm fashion for the second time today, he opened the door in his room. He walked inside, took his uniform and grabbed a short sleeve red t-shirt and a pair of black jeans. He took off his shoes, they were badly damaged, and white sneakers, and grabbed his other pair of shoes. Those were being black in color, also sneakers. Exhaling a big sigh, he stretched himself, and then he walked to the door and prepared him to leave. Oh, my wallet, I almost forgot about it. Before even grabbing the knob, he turned around and looked for his wallet. He took it out from his pocket of his former pants and put it into the back pocket of his jeans. I almost screwed up again. How am I supposed to pay without my wallet? He tapped his back pocket as he spoke in a low voice. I also need to make a new account that isn't linked to me after all. After all, during my journey, I need money to eat and sleep in at least a decent place. Let's do that today as well. He thought as he grabbed the doorknob of his room, turning it. Looking outside of his room, he saw nothing at all. The residents of his house were either at college, co-academy, or on a long trip on a cruise ship to America. He put his hand inside both of his pockets and walked down the stairs. Reaching the main door, he grabbed the keys and left a big bowl near the entrance and opened the door. Closing it, he locked it back with his keys and checked if it was actually closed. Then he left. More than an hour passed since he left Co-Academy. Now he was sure that the mall was open. First things first, I need a haircut. My hair looks bad right now, he said as he grabbed his long brown hair with his left hand. Let's go to the new mall that opened up a few weeks ago. I believe there's a hairdresser at that place, Issei thought as he turned around the corner and looked at rather structure that proudly outclassed everything near. That was his objective. Ravensburg Mall, built by a German company that decided to make their new mall complex in here in Co. Why did they do that? He had suspicions. They reamed with Serzex and Serafall. Closing in on the mall, he now stood in front of the big dancing fountain that spewed water at different speeds. Lights accompanied every moment the water did. He stood there for some time, watching over the spectacle of water and light. Soon he went and left into the mall. Not many customers were inside the mall, maybe because it was too early in the morning. Barely even 10 o'clock. He looked around and endured the looks other people gave him. He couldn't exactly blame them. Even though he went back into training his body, he still looked sickly, and long messy hair didn't give a good image. However, unknown to him, the true reason they looked at him was because of his eyes. They were incredibly sharp and even cold, transmitting certain wisdom and life that normal people couldn't even begin to fathom. So the look in his eyes either surprised them or straight up scared them. Wow! Please stop with the looks, it makes me uncomfortable. Actually, I don't give a shit. He screamed inside his head, and externally he still looked the same, uncaring about the world. After walking around, he finally reached his goal, a huge hairdressing salon occupying the entire wall of the mall. A white rotating door was in its sole entrance and exit, window panes adoring both sides of it, making it look high class and refined. The classic red and white colors were there, but why on the hairdressing salon instead of a barber shop? He had no idea. He closed an in before reaching the rotating door, he thought. Damn, does this place make me feel slightly weird, but it's the closest hairdresser near my house. The one I used to go to, that barbershop, is all the way on the other side of the city. I don't have time, screaming defeat inside of his head as he walked inside. And that is where we're going to stop for now, like right at the beginning of chapter 4, basically. So the reason why I stopped right there is because the rest of the chapter would take about 3 hours to read, and unfortunately, once again, I do not have time like that. Your boy has to get on that good old training regimen that I've been on because, well, I want to increase my speed, as we all know. But once again, thank you for all the amazing support. Like, seriously, before you guys leave, it'd be awesome if you join the Limit Breaker tier. Only $2.99 a month just to know when I upload. If you can't afford it, it's completely fine. Don't worry about it. But I also have a ton of other things coming. So what if Goku was too overpowered? I think I've decided to either put this one on Ann Palpowski or on Spartanic. I'm not exactly sure, but either one, I'll have a new What If coming out very soon, as well as What If Issei had Ultra Instinct, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video. But the What If Issei had Ultra Instinct will definitely be my next What If, I'm assuming. Obviously, I'll have a series in between that just so I can have every parts coming out, you know, constantly uploading, as working on that at the same time. And What If Goku and Vegeta were trapped in Whis' staff will also be one of my newer ideas that I just loved. I can't, I'm obsessed with Dragon Ball. I know a lot about it, so the story is going to be quite intriguing, and I'll have a lot of details. So thank you so much for the support once again. Thank you so much for all my balance breakers, once again, which is the highest membership tier on the thing. You guys are much, much appreciated. Everything you guys send me, all the money that you guys send me and things like that, I use it and I put it back in my work. As you guys can tell, your boy is on the grind. I'm feeling really good. Don't worry, I'm not overworking myself. For all the people wondering in the comments, I know I read them. I reply to them. I reply to most of my comments, or at least try to. So thank you so much for the support. Remember, my second channel, Ann Palpowski, as well as Fallen DxD. Hopefully I'll be uploading on both of them soon. They're down in the description below. And without further ado, Spartanic Arts DxD out.